Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Sandra Ferrari with Real Estate Investing. I am so happy that you are all tuning in to be with me at this moment. And I am also welcoming anyone who's new to my channel. Welcome to the community. If you're ready to invest, if you're not ready to invest, if you're afraid, you are almost there but a little bit scared, or you're looking for information on how to start, you are at the right place and at the right time because now's the time to invest. So, this is why this topic is so important. Yes, really important because I am going to talk about something today which involves mistakes that newbies, new investors, that is, make. And I don't want any of you to fall into those pitfalls. So, this is why we are going to discuss them. And I'm going to name 5 important ones. So, take notes because we are going to dive right in. And are you ready? Because I am. And let's build wealth together. As I mentioned just now, we are going to talk about 5 common mistakes. And guess what? Yours truly here has made a couple. So it's not funny when it's you that made the mistake, but I don't want any of you to have to go through the same thing that I've gone through. So the very first one I wanted to talk about is the failure to do proper due diligence. As you know, this is an issue that I have spoken about. I don't know how much I talk about this because it is important that you do your due diligence. No one's going to do it for you. Only you can do it because you're running a business, not a hobby. Therefore, you must, at all costs, do your due diligence when you're purchasing a property. Don't just rely on the number that's given to you. Do not just rely on what the seller's telling you, neither what the broker is telling you. Do your own research. If you go in an area that is unknown to you, there's nothing wrong with it. All you have to do is to do your due diligence. So if the landlord is telling you that he has a new roof, new boiler, that sounds great. This is honestly the type of thing that myself I look for when I'm purchasing a property. But don't just take his words or her words for it. You need to see papers that indicate so, because you could go and look at the property and say, oh, the roof looks good. But that's not how it is, because you're still going to need to do that inspection, right? Because that's part of your due diligence. Nevertheless, you need to see the papers, the warranties that this person had, the seller, regarding the new roof, the new boiler. And he may also say, well, I have a great tenant. I've had this tenant for the last 10 years. That's great. But I want to see that that person is paying, right? Especially if you're buying for cash flow. And it is really excited when you hear that you have a tenant that's always paying. Oh, it's sweet. However, you still need to verify that information, right? So don't just rely on anything that either the broker or the seller is providing to you. You need to do research. You need to still do what you must do to ascertain that the information provided to you is accurate. That is part of your due diligence. And I cannot emphasize enough how many times people will do half work, not the whole thing. You need to do the entire page. Whether you have to walk through the property, you could go with the inspector if he allows you. I know not every company allows you to be with them, or maybe you're unable to. But if you paying a good company to do the inspection, make sure they do a proper work. Ask them what you're looking for. If you visited the property, you could say, I was unable to go into the closet. Can you look when I knocked on it? Because I've learned that you have to knock on them. Like, what? Knock on it? Yes. Let them do their job. Tell them what you notice so they can report back to you. And they will tell you because that's what they do. Nevertheless, if you see something that's odd, you can ask them to look into it. So this is all part of your due diligence, which I know you're going to do thoroughly. The second mistake that a lot of investors make is the over leverage. What am I talking about? A lot of time people will over leverage by taking too much debt to cover the rental property that they're buying, thinking that they will receive a great rental income. You will perhaps get a loan that's too much. Let's say you are approved by the bank, you're happy. But guess what? The rental income will not cover the mortgage. This is not a deal to do. You cannot do that. You're going to put yourself into a situation that is going to frustrate you, annoy you, and you're going to wish you never started into real estate. Let me tell you a story. This is a true story. I had a coworker of mine whose husband purchased a couple single family properties in Pennsylvania under his name. He wanted to have some extra income. I commend him for that, but he put everything on himself. And lo and behold, out of the 5 properties he purchased, actually 3 of them, the tenants weren't paying. And he had to take money, like his own income. He's a W-2 earner to pay for that. And I remember she was very annoyed with reason. So beware of what you can do. Do not over leverage. I believe there are times you can over leverage, but not in this situation. Don't overdo it, especially if you're buying the first property. If it cannot work, don't force it. You are going to be able to do this. There's nothing that's going to stop you from doing it, because once you are willing to do it, you do the right step, you do your due diligence, you're going to see if this is for you or not. And if this deal is not for you, that's okay. You're going to get another one. No worries, because there are a lot of deals out there and yours is going to come. Now, another mistake that a lot of new investors make is the over expectation. I call it cash flow expectation, but sometimes you guys set up unrealistic expectations. I've done that. I remember when I moved in one of my properties in Pittsburgh, I was told I could increase the rent. I totally believed it because I was really excited. The price was low. I could afford it. I had enough money. And they told me I could raise it. But it's not easy. You cannot just go into a property and raise the cash flow, especially if the area cannot support it. That is why when I purchased my Tennessee property, I did my research and I find out that this area can support a 5% increase in rental income. So I knew what I was getting involved. I did my due diligence and I was aware of that. And I knew that if I raised it, that my tenant would be able to pay. Because at the same rate, you can't just go and raise a rent when you're finding out that this is the income in this area and they will never be able to pay you. And you're counting on that money to pay the mortgage. You are putting yourself into a pitfall. So this is why I'm here to discuss this. Do not set unrealistic cash flow expectations. What's given to you, study it. Actually, I would prefer that you go a bit conservative, because I always, when I'm working my numbers, I work them on a conservative basis. I'd rather say I'm going to get less than I'm getting more. That way I know I can prepare myself for it. Another mistake is not having reserves. I will tell you, I've learned that the hard way. We purchased a couple properties, my sister and I, in Pittsburgh. Then all of a sudden, the property management called us and said, hey, we need work to be done. You don't have enough money in your account. I said, oh boy. I had to fund the expenses because I did not take into account that anything can happen. Yes, this is why I just talked to you in the last issue that I brought forth, was that you cannot set unrealistic expectation in cash flow. Because if an expense arises out of nowhere, because things could be working now, but something happened, there's a big storm and part of the roof is gone, you should set up a little reserve. Yes, I would say good 5 to 10% reserve, set it aside. And you could say, this is money I'm lending to the business so that it's there. If something happens, you can cover yourself, because you don't want to be in a situation where this happens and you can't fix it and you have to take your own money. But if you already set it up and you did your due diligence, you realize this could happen. Hey, they call you, said, yeah, fine, go ahead. I have money here and you're going to lend it to the business. So don't be caught unaware without any reserves. I strongly suggest you have reserve because I believe in reserve. It has helped us, my business partner and I. Now, the last one I want to talk about is try to manage everything yourself. Oh my goodness, I have. That is the fifth mistake. You are not a property manager. You are not an accountant. You are not a handyman. Maybe some of you are. I know I'm not. If you're not a handyman, please hire someone to fix the issue at the house. Don't go fix it yourself because you can cause more damage and you can actually cause your tenant to leave as well. I know myself, I can kick the TV to make it work. I can kick the music box to make it work, but that it's not gonna help when you have an issue in a home and you have a tenant. So please hire property management to manage the property. And if you were doing your own accounting, just like my sister and I were doing before we started purchasing real estate investment properties, hire a real estate investor who also does accounting. So you have an accountant who knows what he or she's doing. Because this is a business after all, not a game, not a hobby. If you found value in everything that I'm saying here, all I would ask you is to give this video a thumbs up, like it, and share it. And I would love to hear your comments. Have you ever found yourself in any pitfalls? Even if it's not a property that you have, an investment property, maybe your own property or anything else you are doing, tell us what you've gotten yourself involved into and how you were able to rectify or to reconcile the issue and solve it, because this could help the community here as a whole. I am so excited that you are still watching and you're still here with me. And I cannot wait for you to start sharing that you are taking the step, that you have changed your mindset and you're ready to proceed to go forward, because only you can build your legacy. This is your future. Take hold of it. Take charge. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.